A Virginia man arrested in December after what federal prosecutors describe in court documents as the discovery of the largest stockpile of, quote, finished explosive devices ever found. So here with us now to take a closer look at this case, NewsNation Law and Justice contributor Jennifer Coffindaffer. Jennifer, thank you so much for your time on this. Excuse me. So the largest discovery ever found. That's a huge statement. What is your biggest takeaway from this discovery, which really happened before we now just saw this attack in New Orleans, before we saw this explosion in Vegas?
Well, I think this is so relevant because, Nichole, there is no reason for someone to have 150 different IEDs. And we're talking both pipe bombs and other devices. So, Nichole, this is very significant because who was he making them for? This isn't a stash that just would be utilized by yourself, but by others as well, I believe.
And what stands out to you from what we know so far?
Well, a couple of things. One of the things that really bothers me is that he was afforded a $25,000 bond and is supposed to be on only an ankle monitor. That doesn't make any sense to me. I think the prosecution is trying to fight it, but at this point, that is what the judge has said. And I think that's a huge problem, having somebody with this capability and quite frankly, extremely sloppy in his practices out in the public.
And as you were speaking there, Jennifer, we saw pictures. There was a backpack with the hashtag No Lives Matter. If we can bring that one up, because investigators say they found explosives in that backpack. It has this patch with a patch that was shaped like a hand grenade and a logo reading hashtag No Lives Matter. There it is. And now prosecutors say that this symbol has ties to a nihilistic far-right ideology that promotes targeted attacks, mass killings, a criminal activity. How important is that piece of the investigation from your perspective?
I think that's very important. Look, nihilism is becoming more and more seen amongst criminals. And essentially, when you think nothing matters, that's when you become more prone to doing these vicious crimes, such as we saw in New Orleans. Nothing matters, and your whole ideology falls apart and can become criminal in nature, as has happened with this individual. In addition, he was actually keeping very explosive and temperamental type devices in his freezer, bomb making devices in his freezer that temperature change and movement could have caused friction, as an example, could have caused them to explode. We know he's lost 3 of his fingers because of his haphazard handling of these devices. So very concerning, Nichole.
And you mentioned all of that, the fact that, more than 150 explosive devices were found on that property. Is it really, honestly, a miracle that there wasn't some massive explosion, even accidentally?
I think that is so true. And this is why I think that when you look at his own mindset, if we're to believe his patch, and if we're to believe what the informant has said, there was an informant in this case. And that's why it's particularly important that he not be released. This informant, I read the affidavit, it's very singular in nature, so it's easy to figure out. And here is somebody who did exactly what law enforcement says. Please come out. Please let us know if you see something concerning. He did just that. And yet it looks like this person might be released. Very concerning, Nichole.
Do you think we will potentially see more people charged in connection with this? I mean, I know you mentioned that informant.
Yes. Well, the informant was actually kind of somebody that was close in proximity to him, not necessarily super close to him, but I believe that others could have known what he was doing. Typically, these people have the same mindset. They communicate via social media. So I'll be very interested to see what the FBI comes up with in terms of his digital footprint. Who is he communicating with?
Yeah, so that leads me to my last question. I mean, what most likely happens next, Jennifer?
Well, what happens next is, to me, they really need to see what the purpose of these IEDs was for. Who was he communicating with? Was he planning on selling any of them? And certainly they need to keep this individual detained.
All right, always great to talk to you. A wealth of information. Jennifer Coffindaffer, thank you so much. Thanks for watching. Go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your screen. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.